Hi guys, welcome to another Jamaican video, a Jamaican living in Germany. Now in this video, I want to talk a bit about racism and race in Germany. So I'll share a bit of my experience and then just some stories and just a few thoughts about this topic. So I'm a black guy, just in case you didn't recognize. And I've been living in Germany for the past couple of years, and over the past years, the topic of race and racism has been something that pops up ever so often because people ask me constantly, hey, what is it like to be a black guy living in Germany? Especially my friends back home in Jamaica, because they're just overly concerned that, I'm having like a lot of racist experiences and so on. And I decided to make this video to kind of break down that topic a bit and to share my thoughts on it. On the topic of race, one of the things that really amazed me when I just moved to Germany was the assumption that a lot of Germans, or like especially people from African countries, would make, where they looked at me and they were like, okay, which African country are you from? Or I would sometimes introduce myself and say, okay, I'm from Jamaica, and then the next question would sometimes be like, where in Africa is that? And I found that really interesting, because in my mind I was thinking, yeah, most people would actually know about Jamaica. They would know about the Caribbean, that there are a bunch of countries there and a lot of the people there are black, or even to think that, hey, this guy could be an African American. Once I was sitting on the train and then this German guy sat next to me. Like about 5 minutes later, he decided to ask me a few questions, and he asked me in French. And I was like, yeah, I don't speak French. I don't understand a word in French. This assumption is actually quite popular. I mean, I've had this experience countless times, and not just with Germans, but even like people from other African countries, where they see me and they automatically assume that I'm from an African country, and they start speaking to me in French or some other African language, and the surprise on their face when I'm like, yeah, je ne parle pas français. And I'm telling them I don't speak French or I don't speak that language, and they're like, hey, what? When people have this assumption, it doesn't necessarily bother me. I mean, I find it funny. I especially love to see their reaction when they recognize that I don't speak French or whatever language they're trying to speak to me in. But I think it would be better for people not to just jump to that conclusion that, hey, because you're a black person, that means you're from an African country. When I just moved to Germany and I would go to the barber, I would just pretty much do a simple cut. I would just tell them what length they should cut my hair, and that was it. And then I got the bright idea to start growing my hair after a few months of being here. And that's when it got crazy, when I'd go to the barber and I would describe to them what I wanted them to do in my broken German, or even when they could speak English, then I would do that. And it was a never-ending roller coaster. Sometimes I just have the feeling that they just do whatever they want. And there was a point where I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to show them what I want. And then they should be able to do that. And that never worked. Like, even when I showed them the picture, somehow they just default to doing whatever they want. First of all, my hair is very much different from the typical customers that these barbers would have. I mean, just looking at my hair, it looks short, but it's actually really curly. And if I was supposed to pull this out, then you see that it's actually pretty long. And I'm sure this is gonna like stick out for the rest of this video. What makes it worse is that I'm living in a very small city. So I don't really have that many options like for barbers that can actually deal with my type of hair. I'm yet to find a good barber in Germany. Now, before I came to Germany, I shared with my family members and friends the plans that I had. And the reactions that I got were like really interesting, where some of them were like, hey, why are you going to Germany? I mean, are there even black people there? What about the history of Germany? I mean, Germany is a racist country because of that guy. And what made it worse was that I decided to do like some of my own research, and I went online, which was the worst mistake ever. And I was typing like racism in Germany. And when you enter something like that in Google, you're not gonna get really cool stories about how friendly and cool Germans are. You're gonna see like some of the craziest stories and some of the craziest experiences that people have. And that's exactly what happened. But despite all of that, I decided that I would still come here, have an open mind, because as I've often discovered from traveling, it's like you read something on the internet, you hear about people's experiences, you go there and you have a different experience. And that was actually my situation, where it's like these horror stories that I read about or that I heard, or these things that people predicted would happen to me, that wasn't the case. The closest experience of racism that I had was like a couple years ago when I was in Frankfurt, just chilling on a bridge with a friend of mine. We were there like taking some pictures. And this guy was just walking, and then he just came up to me more or less in my face, and he was saying a bunch of stuff. And it was very hard for me to understand him. And to this day, I don't really know what he said. And it seemed like he was drunk. So I don't even know if he was actually being racist towards me, or if it was just because he was like highly intoxicated and just saying a bunch of foolishness. Back in university, I did a psychology course, and we learned about situational factors and dispositional factors, where situational factors, for example, you go to a restaurant and the waiter is not really nice to you and whatever stuff, and it could just be because they're having a bad day, they had some bad news, they woke up just feeling really frustrated that morning and stuff. Or the dispositional factors could be that, that's just who they are, that's your personality, they just don't like you for whatever reason, just because of the color of your skin or for whatever reason. And I recognize that I tend to try to look at things from this situational factor perspective, where I'm not quick to think that everything is because of how a person is, to say that, okay, they're treating me bad because they're racist. I don't think that's fair, because we're humans and we have different problems, and we have our days and we have our moments. So I don't jump to that conclusion to say that somebody's racist because they said something bad to me or they reacted in a certain way. Even if I was supposed to have like some of these experiences, I wouldn't jump to say that Germany is a racist country. I would never say that about this country, because this country is a very big country. There are more than 80 million people in this country. And to make a statement like that would be unfair, and I would actually say irresponsible, because out of these millions of people, like, people have different views about different things. Even if a few people are supposed to be racist towards me, I mean, I've met thousands more of other people, other Germans, who have been the exact opposite. They have been kind, they have been friendly, they have been just really awesome people. So I prefer to focus on those group of people that are more or less welcoming and open, instead of being so distracted and being so frustrated about people that share other views. I've not had these experiences, but I do have friends and acquaintances that have had these experiences because of racism or just maybe discrimination, where, for example, they wanted to enter a particular club or a particular bar and they were denied access. Now, I've never had that experience because I don't go to the clubs and I don't go to the bar, so I've never had an experience like that. Or even last year, a friend of mine from Indonesia, he was sharing with me that he went running, and it's like people were saying to him, like, you should go back to Asia or something, go back to China, because I guess the fear of corona and stuff, and them thinking that, okay, it's because of Asians and stuff, that's why they were saying things like that. And he was like really, really afraid to go running. Like for a couple of weeks or so, he decided that he wouldn't, because he just kind of thought it was just too dangerous. It's very heartbreaking when someone treats you bad just because of how you look, because of the color of your skin, because your hair is different or something, where it's not something that you can change about yourself, where it's like, that's just who you are. And it's like, people will not accept that for whatever reason. Like, yeah, that really hurts. Just the idea of racism is actually crazy, that we're at this point where we think that because somebody looks a particular way, that they should be treated a particular way. It's like, the idea is just, it's just crazy actually. I don't regret coming to this country, and I'm happy that the crazy stories and the crazy expectations that people had about me moving to Germany didn't become a reality. In fact, it's been the complete opposite. It's been an amazing experience. Like, countless crazy stories in a positive way. They've just been flooding my life over the past couple of years, and that's pretty much my 2 cents on the topic of race and racism in Germany. And I want to just thank you for watching the video, and if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the channel, check out the other videos on my channel, and see you in the next Jamaican video.